Okay, these are 7 don'ts, things you should not do when you're out there looking for grants. Okay, number 1, or actually this is a 7. This is the least important thing to do, is don't trust the internet. That's right. When you're going to go on the internet and look for grants, man, you're going to get literally millions, hundreds of millions of websites, and you don't know a good website from a bad website, or somebody in the garage making this stuff up, or if it's a real legitimate place that hands out money. So what to do if you're going to use the web at all? Make sure you look at sites that just have .gov or .org. These are nonprofit organizations or government organizations. All the other things, .com, .net, .whatever, are people there that are going to sell you something. So you're looking for free money. That means you don't have a whole lot of money, and these people are going to sell you something that may or may not be good, and you don't know. So don't trust what you see on the internet. Okay, next thing. Number 6. You don't need a grant writer. So many people say, oh, I'm going to write a grant, I want to get a grant money. People, well, you need a grant money. You realize those grants are 80,000 pages and things like that. Man, I mean, hire a grant writer before you know where you're going to apply for money, before you have the application. It's like buying a prom dress before you even get an invite to the prom. Listen, most of the grants that give out money, particularly to individuals, are only 2-3 pages, fill out the blanks. So they're not even that complicated. So don't worry about writing a grant until you're pretty sure, hey, this is somewhere I want to apply to, and I have the application, and then you make that decision. Okay. The number 5. Don't believe what the experts tell you. You got a buddy just wrote a grant and they said, oh boy, it was so hard. And everybody's got an anecdote. Remember, there's 17,000 grants. There's hundreds of millions of people that applied for these every year. So when you hear one story, that's just an anomaly. You could hear the exact opposite from somebody else. It's hard, it's difficult, it's a lot of money, it's a little money, it goes to minorities, it doesn't go to minorities. All this kind of stuff. Forget it all. Everybody doesn't know everything. They can't possibly. It's a huge world. I know this. I've been studying 35 years. I still know I don't know it all. So I'll be surprised every day about my preconceived notions of what grants really are. So don't believe what the experts tell you, even if it's your best friend. They don't know everything. And even when you call a government office and they tell you, oh, you can't do that. That means you just can't do that there with their program. There's hundreds of other programs to apply for. You could probably do it. Some grants have income requirements. Some grants, it doesn't matter. You can be a millionaire. So that's why it doesn't matter. Just keep going. Okay, number 4. Don't apply to just one office. People say, well, I'm just going to fill this application away. No, you can apply to 100, a dozen, or whatever it is. And once you fill out one application, they're almost all the same. So you just keep copying it. It's sort of like college applications. The first one's as hard, and the rest you just copy it. So, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Everybody gives you the money? That's a nice problem to have, and you'll figure that out when that happens. Okay, number 3. Don't leave empty-handed. When you find an office, you're communicating with them, you're emailing on the phone or whatever, and it turns out, hey, maybe this isn't just the right office for you, or you didn't have what they thought it was. Don't leave empty-handed. Ask them, hey, where else do you suggest? Because they're in that business, they're giving out money, for business or people with health problems or whatever it is. And they may know of other organizations because they may be doing this for the last 13 years of their life, and run into people at conferences or whatever. Hey, why don't you try over there? They may have the money or whatever. So that's why if you got a contact, you're communicating with somebody, that's handing out the money, it turns out it's not them, ask them where else, because they're going to be a lot more informed about this than your mother-in-law or all the people you're going to ask in your local coffee shop or whatever. So make sure you get that information. Okay, number 2. Don't believe the government's broke. Oh, we have no more money. Well, I mean, that could mean a million things. They don't have as much money as last year, or they gave all their money out this year already, and in 2 more months they're going to have another cycle, and they're going to give out more money. So ask them will it be open again if they don't have money now. So and when people overall broke, I mean, we talked about this earlier about, the government's giving out more money than ever before. People, when they're trying to cut down, some programs are cut, others are growing, and others are new. So it all depends who you talk to. Again, like, no one knows everything. Okay, here's the number one biggest mistake in people looking for grants. Don't ask for a grant. Right. 80% of the free money that the government gives out is not even called grants. So if you're searching for grants, you're calling offices or talking to people about grants or other, and particularly if they work for a bureaucracy, they're going to look under a listing of grants. You won't see anything. But there's 5 other programs called something else, like direct payments or loans you don't have to pay back and all this other kind of stuff. You won't believe the kind of stuff. So when you're looking for grants, don't say grants, you just say financial assistance. So that's when you're contacting agency. I mean, when you Google financial assistance, you'll probably get all these financial advisors, and that's going to be that's why it's a little complicated, but it just takes a little time to learn. And once you learn, you use it over and over and over again for the rest of your life. And here, I got a place too that could help you for free. Right on Lesko.com, I got a toolbar there. We've got about 7 buttons you could press for the best starting places of real free help for almost any problem you have. So that's at Lesko.com, and look at the toolbar. It's free. Hey, the White House just saved you $900 on your mortgage. That's right. What they did is they changed they reduced the annual mortgage insurance premium by 0.5%. 0.5% doesn't sound like much, right? But the average person will be $900 less a year in your mortgage payments because you have to pay insurance in your mortgage payments. So that's what it's going to be cut by. So this is going to make it easier for people to buy homes or refinance homes. So it's going to be easier. And so you have to contact your mortgage company if they know, because this is part of it for FHA. See, they could just dictate that in Washington because it's the federal government that insures all these loans, so they're on the hook, so they could do any of these kinds of things. Or you could go to the White House website and look for White House and mortgage insurance. Google that, White House mortgage insurance, and you'll see this program there. And then call up your mortgage operator or whoever has your mortgage. Or if you're buying a home, man, that's it. So you crank this in now to if you could afford something, because now if you have to pay $1,000 or $900 less, man, you could afford more of a home. So you Google White House mortgage insurance. Find out about this new program. Just came out, so that's why the financial industry and everything won't hear about it. It takes months for it to trickle down and they find out about it. So you find out about it and tell them, hey, I can get this cheaper because you found out about it. Oh, this next interview is the largest thrift store in the world. That's right, and I'll show you how it's going to make you money, and people in your life are going to make them money too, like your church, community group, or whatever, any nonprofit you know. And it's wonderful. It really shows the power of the internet. I mean, the crowds. I mean, just like now we have thrift stores. You got a little shop downtown or somewhere that maybe is run by a local nonprofit, and they, you bring them stuff and they sell it and they raise some money. Man, that's a drudgery, doing that. Well, now there's a platform for any nonprofit to go on and have their own thrift store, and not only do you have access to the people in your community like you did in a store, you have access to people in the world that could get goods and services and things like that at bargain prices, and the nonprofit gets all the money. See, the The website just manages all the details of it, so you have to do nothing. I mean, it's a no-brainer for any nonprofit to put stuff on there, and then they could go to their friends and family or whatever and tell them, hey, you got stuff? Just put a picture of your stuff, and if somebody buys it, then you give us money, and you get a tax deduction. It's wonderful. I mean, there's even there I saw a van, cars and things like that, on this stuff. So it's a way to spread this bigger than ever before, and not just a local community. The world becomes the community, everybody. So it's multiplying effect like anything. I mean, this is what's happening in the internet, whether it's Airbnb, with hotel rooms all around the world, or Uber, with people who drive you anywhere you want, and it's more efficient, and everyone's making money in the deal, and it's just sharing resources. I mean, they say we have about $700 billion. We each have like $700 billion of stuff in our house that we don't want anymore. We don't use it. I mean, just think of all the crap you buy, and when was the last time you used it? Well, this is a way. You don't have to pack it up and take it somewhere, and then they may not use it. They'll put anything on the site. If it sells, then you send it. They pay for everything. You don't pay for anything. There's a 30-day guarantee and everything like that. So you're really getting rid of a lot of stuff. You get a tax deduction, and your charity, gets the money. I mean, what can be better than that? And actually, if there's fraudulent buyers or sellers or something like that, you're guaranteed for 30 days, and there's no problem and all that. So any nonprofit can raise money doing this. So tell your church, your community group about this. It's a great way, because your church or community group doesn't want to manage a thrift store, right? But now they do it for you online. Boy, the beauty of having a platform, as they call it, that does all the nonsense about managing things, and you just collect the money or the benefits, and it's a great way to live. So watch this. Well, Doug Krugman of the Web Thrift Store. Man, every nonprofit in the world now could have their own thrift store to make money for them, and they don't have to put up a nickel or management or anything. Plus, what's neat about your website, man, not only does a nonprofit have a thrift store, it's a worldwide thrift store. So you have the biggest market to make money than any thrift store in America, I would think, or probably the world. You have the biggest market for thrift stores, right?
So we are creating the largest market for thrift stores. Yep.
Right. And so anybody can be part of it. And any nonprofit could be part of it. And then plus the consumer, I could get rid of all that crap I have upstairs, right?
Everyone has lots of stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff.
We estimate there's $700 billion worth of stuff.
I said, God, that looks like a line item in the federal budget, right? 700 billion. God, that's almost $1 trillion in stuff that we're not using, that somebody else wants and would pay decent money for. And so they could get it at a bargain from your site, right?
Yep.
And then the person getting rid of it, they're not greedy, they just don't want it. So the money goes to somebody, nonprofit, who could use this and really do important things in life.
Yeah, no, and it's a great way. If you don't have money, to give to a nonprofit and you want to help a cause, this is something you can do, something you can give without having to write a check.
And you get a write-off, right? So you got so you get a tax deduction too. So you're clean out your closet, getting a tax deduction. You're helping the world, and God, I mean, just everybody's winning, and the nonprofit gets money, and they do stuff, and you get a tax write-off. You clean it. I mean, I think, especially younger people, don't want a lot of stuff anymore. I mean, I think it's just older people that have stuff, and they don't know how to get rid of it. So you really make it easy for anybody to get rid of this stuff, because people really want it. I mean, eBay makes gazillions of dollars doing this, right?
Yep. So we're really going after people who aren't really online sellers who aren't eBay merchants,
Yeah.
who just have stuff that they want an easy way to get rid of it without having to really deal with customers and service and all those things. So you just put a picture of it up and a few pieces of information, and then we send a prepaid mailing label.
But but the stuff I saw, I mean, you had some pink suede shoes pumps that, if I was transgressing, man, I would go for those.
It would match your outfit now, I
Right,
think.
exactly. Well, they really just bounced out of me. Just great stuff. I mean, this is high fashion stuff you have. It's not just, crumbled up sweaters or anything like that. Plus, I saw you had a handicapped fan. Somebody's getting rid of a handicapped fan. Man, that's important stuff for some family that could get a big deal on that. That's terrific. I mean, I don't see that stuff anywhere on eBay or.
Yeah, no, furniture and all kinds of stuff. Anything that somebody wants to buy, as long as
Yeah.
it's legal.
Right. Or you don't know it's illegal. So how long you guys been at this? How long have you been at it?
We've been at it for a few years now.
Yeah.
It's from conception to releasing, and I was going to say that each charity can decide what things it will accept and what things it won't accept.
Oh, I mean,
So,
what kind of money or what do you mean?
what kind of products you can list. So
I see. So they don't want to be associated with some kind of products or something like that?
yeah, we have a lot of animal pet related charities that don't
Oh, I
want
see.
any
I see. So they want to be money from fur coats or something.
exactly.
Okay. But you have a list of charity. I mean, there are dozens or hundreds or something already, that you could choose from.
Yeah, and, we have a lot of charities that have signed up, and a lot more that will be coming online soon.
So do you vet those charities? I mean, if you were a nonprofit, I mean, they go to the website and then fill out an application to be part of this, or how does that work?
Yep, we just make sure that they're a 501c3
I see.
because we provide the tax deduction.
I see.
So, that every all the items being sold are going to a legitimate, to help a legitimate nonprofit.
I see. So, right, I understand. So, as long as you're a legitimate 501c3, then you could sign up for you guys and people could choose you I mean, to me, what's great, if you're a 501c3, I mean, you as a fundraiser, for the charity, you go out and tell them about, hey, you have stuff you don't want, go to, webthriftstore.com and, you could give money to us that way and get rid of your stuff so they could promote the website. Eh?
Yeah, we just signed up PS6 as our first public school.
Wow. Well, they need money more than anybody. I mean, school. What could be better than that? Yeah.
Yeah, so we expect to have a lot of schools signing up.
Well, then the kids could go out and tell the parents, tell everybody about this. It's a way to, instead of
Right. Instead of doing
buying
the
a
big
McDonald's.
sales and,
Yeah, right. Instead of buying a McDonald's hamburger or something and getting a penny from that. That's brilliant. No, I think the whole idea is just great. And like Uber or Airbnb and it's just a website, middlemen, just making the world easier for everybody and making it more efficient and getting rid of the extra stuff that somebody thinks it's special,
really just finding
Can you
ways
put ex-wives on there too if you want, or
finding ways to get stuff from where somebody isn't using it, doesn't want it, to a place where somebody does, and and really the motivation being that you want to do good more, even more than trying to make some money.
Right.
People whose motivation is really just they want to do something good with the item for the world, for the environment.
And then you don't have to have the garage sales or or the landfill problem or all these kinds of things that we have with all the stuff we've had in our houses, and this is a wonderful way to solve that problem and help somebody else with their problems. Because that's what nonprofits do, right? And nobody knows about them. So they need help. And there's $700 billion sitting in people's homes that they're not using. So they should go to webthriftstore.com and get rid of some of that $750 billion and let people use it and get something out of it. And then nonprofits really, will help society too.
Yeah, no, and really, a way for somebody to give a lot more money to a
Right.
nonprofit.
And you get a tax deduction.
Yeah.
Right. So that's
Yeah.
the cool thing. Yeah.
So,
everybody.
and we provide a 30-day guarantee on
Wow.
the items.
So you guarantee. So I buy some on there, and I thought it was cool, and they like it. I could send it back. I could send it back to the thrift store.
You send it, yeah, you send it back to us. Yeah.
Wow! No kidding. God, I never knew thrift stores take return. See, that's amazing. I mean, so a nonprofit organization, I have a thrift store now, and I take returns. Yeah, boy, that's amazing.
And so, so we're really trying to make it easy for the nonprofit. So the nonprofit does, never has to deal with anybody's, complaints about things. That's what.
It's basically you do what you say. Yeah. And people could bet on you that you do that, and so you're doing that.
And just trying to make it easy for everybody involved.
Oh, wonderful, Doug! Thank you for being there, and people should know about it. You're doing good work for everybody involved. And
thank you.
webthriftstore.com. Right.
Yeah, and if you're a nonprofit, look us up too.
Yes. That's how I'm going to promote this. Nonprofits here's a source of funding.
Yep.
Right. You don't have to get a government grant. You go to webthriftstore.com and start a thrift store.
Yep. Yeah.
Easier than anything. Right.
Never have to deal with any of the stuff, and no inventory, no.
Exactly.
You don't need any people to manage it or anything like that.
Doug works for you for free. Yeah, and he's got an MBA from Columbia or something like that. See, you got him working for you for free. Well, thank you, Doug. Take care.
Well,
Say hello to the crew.
Appreciate it.
You're
doing a great job.
Now, I've interviewed almost maybe 1,000 people who have invented great stuff in the last couple of years, and found free money on the internet to make it happen. Well, this is one of the best things I think I've ever seen, and it's all so many purposes. First of all, it's a game for kids, 3 years old, 10 years old, stuff like that. Second of all, it teaches kids about electronics so they could compete in the new IT world. That's right, 3 years old. Third, it shows about how to make thread light up. Now they have thread that is, it's like wires, and you sew it on, and you put little lights, LED lights on it, and you light. I mean, I'm gonna make a question mark suit like this. It's just wonderful. And these little packages. Third, you see how the big companies are not that creative anymore. So we used to make our toys for kids and everything came from big companies, like Milton Bradley and Harsborough, or whatever their name is. Had things like Boardwalk. Monopoly and Twister and all those games. I mean, if you had a game or something like that to teach kids, you had to go to one of these big companies and hope they, first of all, didn't rip you off, and number two, that they would accept your idea. And they were getting thousands of ideas all over. Now that system is over. People just go on the internet with their idea with very little money, because you don't need a finished product yet, and you raise money. These kids, and these are students, are working on this project. So they're barely of legal age. And they're raising $15,000 to have a little game where kids 3, 4, 5 years old can sew this electronic thread and light things up and make a circus out of it and everything. And then plus, it's a way for grandma and grandpa to learn about electricity and how all this stuff works too. I mean, to me, I feel the same as a 3-year-old trying to understand all this stuff. So now grandpa or grandma could get this neat little, game and teach, the grandchild about electricity, and they learn too. Now, there's an intergenerational learning, and it's just great. I mean, the creativity that is exploding in our country, and mainly because of the internet. If there weren't sources on the internet to get funding to make these ideas happen, they wouldn't happen. You'd be going to Milton Bradley, and we'd stand in a big line and hoping to be chosen by these people. Now, good or bad, you go to the market, the crowds, and the crowd tells you thumbs up or thumbs down. Not just the Roman Empire, but the crowds tells you that, and that's a true test of whether your idea is good or not. And it takes no money to do that, very little, a few out-of-pocket expenses, and you put the idea up there, and if people like it, they throw you money, and then you're off to the races. And plus, you're solving a problem, doing good stuff in life, and having a hell of a lot of fun. So watch this video.
Well, Okan Telhan, and the website is the greatest name for your product I've ever heard, and doing hundreds of these interviews. CirKits, CIRKITS.US, because this is a circuit of circuits. I don't know if you can understand, but you're getting kids to be high-tech entrepreneurs almost and learn about technology. But man, I don't think it's a kid stuff. I mean, I'm going to buy one of these suckers as soon as I get off the interview with you, because I could put stuff on my suit that will light it up. You have thread that conducts the electricity from a little battery, and now you're teaching kids how to use this technology and make wonderful fabrics and toys, and God, it's just a remarkable thing, Okan, and I appreciate you guys doing this, and you're involved with students doing it too. I mean, what could be better in life to do? You better explain it, because I didn't explain it too well for people. This thing does what?
So this is a bunch of cards that are ready to stitch circuits on. I mean, obviously they come in different shapes. You get a mouse, you get a bear, you get a seal. So our little cards have some personalities into them. And you start, stitching an LED onto your bear and make its nose glow. And then you can do your, lion to, have some nice tricks. So you have the basic kits come with conductive thread, LEDs, and a battery, and then you can stitch your circuit to make your LEDs light up. And eventually we have a board where all of these characters that can be also placed so that they can have different kinds of animations on them. We have a little trapeze where you can hang your character so that it lights up when it's hanging on the ropes. And so it is very much like, how do you bring electronics, stitching, crafting into gameplay so that you can do storytelling, character building. You play it with your friends.
So it's really a child development tool. I mean, it looks like for third, fourth, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-years-old. How far does it go up to? Probably 10, 12 or something like that, huh?
It can go up to 10, 12, but also, our experiences shows that, these kind of kits also build a lot of parent-child interactions. So you can play with your grandchildren, you can play with your daughters, and you can really have, intergenerational interactions with these.
But not only intergenerational, actually, you're right, intergenerational learning, because I know, like me and grandpa don't know what this is all about. So besides teaching the kids for the future, grandma can learn the present. What's going on. And that's why I say, it's wonderful. It's not only for kids, man. It's a way for adults to really understand the power of the technology and how it can be used. I mean, I'm a fashion, whore or whatever, this is wonderful stuff that I could use. And we talked about it before we went on the air, how I'm going to use it. And it's like $30 to get started in this thing. And you're crowdfunding and you have a whole bunch of people already, man. This is going to take off. And Christmas, I can't see anything better to get. Valentine's Day is coming up. Why not the loved one?
For Valentine's Day, we have a special pledge. It's a small pledge, so you can get a Valentine's Day postcard for $5. So if you really want to.
Oh, wonderful! And the postcard is something with the LEDs, or just a? Or just a postcard? I mean,
Just a postcard.
I see. Okay. Well, that's all right. So, I mean, but that'd be nice to give us a gift. Now, when are you delivering on these? Because it's a crowdfunding thing, and so it may take some time to pack it up and send it.
Technically, it will not take us a lot of time to produce it, but what we will see the results of the Kickstarter campaign at the end of the month, and we'll probably spend another 6 months to manufacture them because we want to really produce them in good quality, so it will arrive.
So this is nice. Anybody pre-planning? I mean, for the summer or for the fall gifts, and you certainly have all the holidays coming up and things like that. And for $30, just to have this coming in, and what a surprise! I mean, what a unique gift that anybody could give that has kids, but I really think as parents. And just to learn, I mean, just somebody is a home sewer to have for $30 to start learning how to use this technology as a home sewer, because you send the thread out that does all this stuff, and the LEDs and the little battery that comes with it. It's just phenomenal stuff. And you teach art and design at the University of Pennsylvania. That's where you came up with this, huh?
Yes, I'm a professor in the University of Pennsylvania. I have a pretty interdisciplinary background. So I went to MIT, that studied design and computation, social media, and so on. But at the end, I came to Penn and started work on interdisciplinary design, where we really work with all sorts of materials, all sorts of skills and technologies to make sometimes these little kits for teaching design and technology to younger generations, or sometimes more advanced products that go for different applications. So it's an exciting time for bringing design and technology to new generations of makers.
But your team that you gathered for this product is really, the students are building this with you, aren't they?
Yeah. So we have 2 graduate students and 1 undergraduate student who are responsible for the design. So you can see this as me and my co-founder Yasmin Cafe as the advisors of the project. We are overseeing the design and technology part and the educational part of the project, but it's really the students who design them and realize them. So it is a very important experience for them to really learn how to make something from scratch to something that can be delivered to a massive amount of people.
Yeah, but more importantly, what you're going to do for the people who get this. I mean, the parents who get it for their children, because they're going to learn probably, and the kids, then they're going to grow up knowing about technology that no one else taught them before, and they just don't have to use their iPad. They can be making technology themselves at such a young age, and that's a wonderful thing. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it's very important for us to teach people how to use their hands while they're making things, because this screen culture, these tablets and everything really made us forget our hands, and we really think with our hands. So it's really important for us to really.
Oh, I talk with my hands, and I'll forget how to pick my nose or whatever it is if we don't start. No, I see. It's really a childhood development tool. That's fun and like nothing else I've ever seen in the world. And I'm so glad you brought your creativity to the internet and showing us. And so you go to Cirkits, CIRKITS.US, made in the USA, right? Out of Philadelphia. I'm from Wilkes-Barre originally, so I know the area well. Well, thank you so much, Okan, and best of luck, and I'll be here if I can help you in any way. And people should go and look at that video at least. I mean, that's delightful. I mean, what you guys have done with this on the Kickstarting, and you're almost at the finish, and you got a long way to go, so you're going to make it. We'll have this thing soon. So thank you again.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. It's very exciting to be part of the show. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Now, how would you like to be working in your basement, part-time? You get your normal job you've been at for years and years, and you think, boy, what am I going to do with my future? What does it look like? If I retire or leave this job soon, what am I going to do? Well, here's a guy who went down in his basement. He's an IT worker, but he loves tinkering around with stuff, like handyman stuff. So he invented this little device that makes drinking glasses out of bottles, any kind of glass bottles, and it's a little contraption you put onto a drill, and it smooths off the edges of a broken glass, and you have a wonderful smooth drinking glass. And he sold this on the internet, raised like $21,000, and really started a new career for himself, right? So now he has a plan of what he's going to do after he does not want to do the IT stuff anymore. He's sort of like a Dilbert guy, in this little cubicle all day writing code and stuff like that. And I guess that's why he loves working with his hands and something. So now he found a way to not only make a heck of a lot of extra money, besides his computer coding job, but as another career, or second career, retirement career, or whatever. So he doesn't have to worry about income, because he'd be contributing money, for the rest of his life, because he's contributing stuff that other people want. I mean, I think that's what the aging is all about, that you have to still keep giving, that something that's helpful to other people, and that keeps you younger and want to participate and want to be part of life and can't wait to get up in the morning again. Life isn't, fun is nice for a little bit, but how long are you going to sit on the beach? That to me is a boring life. So to me, the life, and particularly in the long run, you want to be contributing. So how are you going to start now thinking of something that you really want to contribute after you finish the career you're on now or whatever? Because don't forget, we're living longer than we ever imagined. I'm 71 years old. My God, my grandparents lived to 60-something or whatever. And I figure I got 20, 30 more years. So that's why we're living a lot longer. So we have to contribute a lot longer. And there's ways to do it. And we don't have to work in factories. And I think that's what retirement was all about, because you couldn't work in a factory after 60 or so. Your body couldn't take it. But now there's so many things to do, and to tap into your passion that you really want to contribute. Then you start giving the best of yourself to the rest of us. So that's the key. How do you give the rest of us the best that you have? And then you're happier, we're happier, you make everybody happier. So watch this interview.
Whoa! Don Jackson!
Hey!
With the bottle bit! Man, and you say you're a high-tech cubicle coder in programming in Northern California, in Silicon Valley, and you love making glasses out of bottles, don't you?
Kind of a low-tech alternative to what I do all day. So.
But it's wonderful. Your Kickstarter campaign. Now, I could take an old Coke bottle. I could take any kind of bottle, cut it right with some existing tool, or actually, I think you have that to help too, and then get your gadget that smooths the edges, right? And it makes it look like something you bought in the department store or anything, and you can just do it at home.
Yeah, I'm getting lots of feedback from my backers on the Kickstarter campaign saying that, hey, they love cutting bottles, they just don't like sanding it down. And so they see the bottle bit and they're like, hey, here's an alternative. This is something I can sand it down real quick and it makes it painless.
It looks painless. And also, man, it's cheap as heck. How could you get started? How much is it to get started on the thing?
The bottle bit is on Kickstarter now for $30.
$30, wow! So I can make a crate full of glasses out of used bottles. But have the joy of doing it myself too. And wine bottles, any kind of bottles, huh?
Yeah.
Now this would be fun for kids. They finish a soda, and you show them how to make a glass for the rest of their life to drink out of.
Oh yeah, I heard a story from one of my backers. She taught a class in it's a high school shop class. It's not like the shop class that we took when we were kids, right? She says they've got laser cutters and they've got 3D printers and all this, and they cut a bunch of glasses and they sanded them down. And she said, hey, your product, the next time I teach that class, is going to help these kids to sand it down much quicker.
So they have high-tech shop classes now with 3D printers, and now they'll make bottles like in low-tech. Yeah, but more importantly, you're doing this on the side, right?
I am.
And you already got $12,000, and you made your quota in what? How many hours? 8 hours?
8 hours it took.
8 hours. You made your quota. Never did this before. But actually, you tried, you said, putting on Kickstarter, and the community on Kickstarter said, hey, you're in the wrong category. So you just stopped and started again in the right category and made a fortune.
I was in the crafts category. And so I was aiming at people who are already cutting bottles, because there's some people out there doing this. And I said, here's a great way to sand it down. And someone said, you need to put it in product design and just reach a much broader audience. Yeah. And so I added a bottle cutter rewards that you can get. And it's aiming at people who maybe haven't done it at all. And they look at it and say, hey, this looks pretty cool. Why don't I try it out?
Yeah, I mean, like me, that's why I said, hey, this looks cool. You know, for $30 I could get, have a great, spend a great Saturday morning making, 100 glasses for everybody for Christmas. What a great Christmas present and everything that people could do.
Yeah.
And it's fun. But plus I mean, you're out there coding every day in your normal job. I mean, is your mind back home waiting to see, how much more money did I make on Kickstarter today? What's going on?
It's kind of addictive. I get on my smartphone, I'll get a message every time I get a new backer. And so I'm kind of looking at that a lot.
Really? So. You get a ping on your smartphone every time there's money going in the bank?
Kind of a cha-ching, sort of.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, do you fantasize about this being another career someday?
I've talked to manufacturers and distributors and other people that might want to distribute it, and so I'm kind of
Really?
talking about this with people.
That's interesting. So people actually through the Kickstarter campaign talk to you about maybe distributing it. Is that how you found distributors and manufacturers, or what?
Yeah. I've got a guy in the UK that we've already got kind of a handshake deal. I've talked to someone in Australia. I'm talking to a few others. Yeah.
That want to distribute your product, you mean?
Yeah. Well, they're already distributing bottle cutters. And people are getting to them saying, hey, I need an easier way to sand these things down.
I see.
And so they see the bottle bit and they're like, they're contacting me now.
So in addition to, making 2,500 to 12, that's, 7 times or 6 times or whatever, 600% of your quota, you're getting distributors by being on Kickstarter, by being on crowdfunding, that will even sell more after this thing is done on Kickstarter, huh?
Oh, yeah. Kickstarter's got a pretty wide following now.
Yeah.
And so people check it out, and they're looking for up-and-coming products or whatever. So it's a good place to be seen.
It beats you going out and trying to find those people. These people are finding you, and it costs you nothing.
Yeah, if I would have tried this without Kickstarter, I don't think... I wouldn't be going anywhere.
Yeah. Right, because I guess you don't have time to figure out with the industry, who sells these things, where the hell they are. You got to contact them, hire a salesman or whatever.
Yeah.
And this way, by throwing on there, win or lose on Kickstarter, you're finding other ways to win that you didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
About.
Yeah. No, it's great. I'm enjoying every bit of it too. It's I heard interviews, I read articles about how to get things going on Kickstarter, and nothing really prepares you fully for what it's like, but it is just so much fun doing it.
You mean they just tell you how much work you have to do? They didn't tell you how much fun you're going to have doing it.
Well, I think they mentioned it, but the best part though is I get to communicate with these people all over the world. I get feedback, and I get back to everybody's questions or comments, and I just love communicating with people all over the place.
That's what I mean. People say, the internet and computers are making people less social. Everybody has their face but man, you're really becoming more social. You have friends in Australia now. You have people all over the world that love you, whatever. And what to me is so neat about it, you're getting, at your work, I don't know how big your office is. How many times does the boss come over and say, gosh, you're doing a great job, right? You're lucky if you get that at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And now here, you got 200-300 people that are just patting you on the back with money, man.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. They say, we love what you're doing. And they're showing you by, just not being like a nice mother-in-law. They're giving you green stuff and proving it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, glad you're there. Glad you're using your spare time, if you have any, because you have 5 kids too. I guess that's why you're doing this, to help support that payroll. But people want to get this or whatever. When will you deliver on these?
I've I'm already talking to the manufacturer about starting. So I'm going to front him some money so that he'll get the production going. So that when the campaign ends on, I think, February 12th, it'll already be kind of going.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, and so I plan to deliver hopefully within a month.
Oh, really? Wow. So then by March you'll have these things. Great. So you go to the Bottle Bit, BOTTLEBIT.com.
Yes.
See the video there. Great video. Looks like you did the video yourself. It's very authentic. You're the guy doing it and everything. Yeah.
And I plan on putting on that website. I plan on putting a lot of instructional how-to types of things, so that if someone's just starting off in this, they'll be able to see from square zero
so it's
how to
for
get
the
started.
rookie, for a guy like me, and the guy, because it looks great. I mean, I'd love to do something like this. And they make great gifts. I mean, you imagine, gosh, and then you could hand paint these things with people's names, all kinds of things. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So it's thebottlebit.com.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Don, thanks for being there and nice and inspiring people. Man, you could even do something on the side, make money, and have fun too. You bet. Take care, Don.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, I told you about a new program the government's trying to do now for 2 years of free college at the community college. That's either training or the first 2 years of a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, and to have it free for everybody. And it sounds like great. I mean, education is so important in our country, and people are in debt for college loans now more than they are credit card debt. It's just stupid, because education is what's going to grow our country. So the more we invest in people, to get educated, to grow our country, obviously the better we all are off. Okay, so what's happening now is that, hey, everybody's for or against this. So here's an interview about a fellow who monitors this. See, there's a lot of people in Washington who just follows politics on every issue. So this fellow follows the politics of this, and I'll tell you sort of like, what's the good part of this? Now, there's good and bad and everything, right? So he's going to tell you the good parts.
Michael Stratford, Inside Higher Ed. So you're like a blogger in Washington, D.C. It keeps track of all the stuff we're doing in higher education, which is probably the most important thing we have to do in this country now. I think all that other nonsense going on in Washington, who cares, man, if we're not educated? That seems the best way to get growth. But more importantly, Michael, I'm trying to figure out, educate people about this new proposal that Obama has coming up for giving 2 years of college for free. What's that all about? Tell us.
That's right. Well, the president proposed earlier this month and in his State of the Union address a plan that he's going to be submitting to Congress to make community college tuition free nationwide. His goal is that students who meet certain minimum standards and states that have programs that meet certain minimum standards would be able to attend college, community college for at least 2 years tuition free. That doesn't include the cost of other expenses you would have. Room and board, books, supplies.
Well, you can still get the other government money for that, right? Instead of using it for tuition.
That's right. The administration imagines that that this program will cover tuition, and then you'll still have access to other federal aid programs to take care of other expenses.
Now, I understand that you have to have a certain grade point average. What is the grade point average again?
You would have to maintain a 2.5 GPA.
2.5. That would cut me out.
And be enrolled at least half-time.
Half-time. So half-time, 2.5, which is not a big bar to reach. And so no income requirement, right? And you go 2 years for free. That's fantastic. I mean, people are going to these private universities where they're charging them $30,000 a year or something. And who knows that all they're getting is your student loan money. And it's from the data I see, these private for-profit people are got like 90% of their money comes from you getting a government loan and paying for it. And so I think this is great, but that's my personal opinion. So then, there's a process this has to go through yet? What has to happen for this to maybe happen?
For this to happen at all, Congress would have to sign off, which the proposal, it seems like it has pretty tough odds in this Republican-controlled Congress. Republicans have expressed concern about the price tag of the program, which would be at $60 billion over the next 10 years for taxpayers. And so it doesn't look like this proposal has too much traction in the current Congress. Although, notably some Republicans, Senator Lamar Alexander of Tennessee, the Republican who chairs the Senate's Education Committee, he's said that he likes the idea of this program at the state level, and there is a program that's similar in his home state of Tennessee, but doesn't like the idea of replicating it nationally.
I see.
And that's sort
So
of
he's for the program. So is there wiggle room to get something that's not exactly what the president says, or to make some of the Republicans happier?
There may be, but it seems like, to me, one of the more interesting sort of reactions to this might be the level of expectation that's put on states, even in the absence of Congress agreeing to spend more money, which seems unlikely in the immediate future. I think the administration has sort of recognized this, and they've talked about this proposal in very broad terms, and talking about it in terms of a paradigm shift, and likening it to a national expectation that high school is free, and that we need to extend the availability of free public education beyond high school. So they're talking about it in very broad terms, and
but at least we're talking about community colleges. I mean, most people get hit with advertisement of going to some for-profit university, for 20, 30 grand instead of going to a community college for $1,500 or whatever it is. And so just to talk about it is, to me, and I don't know if you know, but I believe in it so much, but I'm biased. I started a scholarship program, a local community college called I Don't Need My Government Money Scholarship Fund, because I get government money like from the Social Security. I don't need it, and in my zip code we get millionaires getting that money, and like $2-3 grand a month, and I don't need it, and a kid could go to college for that kind of money. So it's kind of, we invest in that for the future is a lot better than giving rich old folks. But so that's why I'm trying to shame other old people to give the extra money they get. The kids who go to college, higher education not be better. So I'm glad you're covering this, Michael, and trying to keep us informed about potential opportunities out there. And that, so the website is InsideHigherEd.com, org, or what? .com?
.com.
Okay, InsideHigherEd.com. Michael Stratford, thank you so much. And you're in Washington, down the street from me, and look we're using the international networks to talk to each other instead of going to Tris or somewhere like that. Take care, Michael. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Now, what's good about our society, everybody has their, the opportunity to put their 2 cents in about everything. So we all have a chance to say our piece about anything. Now, on Obama's new 2 years of free college, I mean, there's certain people that think that this is crazy. We don't want to do this and everything. And so I interviewed somebody the Reason magazine, and these people are libertarians, and so they're against anything that the government does. But it's interesting, well, you have to, even though you're for something, to understand the other side, to see that there may be cracks in the system that is happening, that they will see first before other people, because they're just looking for the bad stuff. People only looking for the good stuff, they're going to ignore all the potential bad stuff. But you look for people who are only looking for the bad stuff, it's a way to identify maybe what's wrong with something. And when you see this interview, what's interesting to me about, he really identifies how this could be another like student loans for higher education. I mean, we start giving out more money for four-year colleges and loans to everybody. Well, the colleges were getting all this money and the students had to pay for it, and the colleges grew and they, got bigger, fatter salaries for everybody and more administration and, less education. They were building fancy gymnasiums on their campuses instead of libraries and stuff like that to attract people, so they could get loans from the government to go to their college, so it was an arms race kind of thing. And I think that was the problem with, all the student debt we have. So that's the problem with the two-year colleges. I think there's a potential of this happening. The downside is that we give this money to community colleges and they're getting money from heaven, and so if they Shanghai more people in no matter what, and they're just going to get more money to spend on themselves or whatever, and so there has to be control. So after listening to him, you see that if we do something like this, the important part I think is to have some kind of control so that we don't have the same problem we did with the four-year colleges, right? So we know education is needed, but how? So what's this?
Well, Scott Shackford of Reason Magazine, Reason.com. Boy, I've been reading your stuff for years and years, Scott. It's nice to have you guys who, seem the most reasonable politically in the country now. The right's got so right, and the left's got so left, and you guys, you never know what side of the issue you're on. We can't peg you that easy. Which is nice, and I think is more intellectually honest than people with strong ideologies. But that aside, really, as you know, the president came out with this thing about everybody's going to go for 2 years of college for free. So I mean, it sounds great, and I know you guys think about this kind of stuff. So I want to know what's the downside of something like that happening.
Well, look at it this way. Of course, we all know that there's no such thing as something for free.
Right.
And we know that this
really? There goes my career.
When the government offers something for free, somebody is paying for it somewhere. And so the issue with a free community college is where does that money come from to cover the cost of teaching people? And what we've seen is that college costs have skyrocketed over the past 10, unbelievably, way above inflation, way above the cost of anything else. Is outrageous. And so the idea of a free college sounds great because you get to just not have to deal with that problem. But here's the issue. The reason why community college costs have increased and four-year college costs have increased is because there's been this huge bloat in administrative costs. Mm-hmm. They're not adding more professors. They're not adding more teachers. They're adding more staff and administrators for people to run programs.
Fancy healthcare centers, health centers, and spas.
Exactly. Same thing on the education level. And so what happens is this money, this free college, the money that's used in that, it's not going to go to the students. So we offer this free program. Students aren't going to see a cent. They're not going to be sending checks. They're just going to send the money to colleges. Mm-hmm. And what happens then is there's no longer any incentive for colleges to reduce costs. It's going to cause the cost of colleges' education to actually increase. During the recession, a lot of colleges cut back on staff or salaries for the actual teachers, for professors and adjuncts, the people who are actually responsible for teaching your kids. But they still added to administrators. So at community colleges, they added, during all of this, salaries and employment for professors were flat, but they added 3 administrators for every 1,000 college students.
Wow. So in other words, you're saying that it's sort of like even like whether you're the universities that are getting kids to borrow money to go to college, they get the money and hire staff and put nice swimming pools on their campus and all this kind of stuff. And so that inflates the cost of college. I mean, actually, when I was in college, I think professors made hardly anything. Now, $150 grand is like nothing in these big schools for professors to make. which is amazing.
Yeah, and big schools. And the community colleges, community colleges are cheap because they're heavily subsidized already. And there's lots of, and as of course there's plenty of grants and scholarships for community college students. And, that's how they keep the costs down. Faculty at community colleges don't make the kind of money that faculty at four-year and private colleges do.
So you're saying it's the administration. So you're fearing the same will happen now at the community college, that how the four-year colleges are using the students' loan money because the price of that college education went up so much, so they're borrowing money to give to the college to do what the hell they want. So now you're saying that is something that could happen on the community college level, where the community colleges get more students. I guess they're going to get more federal money for every student they have, right?
Right, and so there's no reason for them to say not raise tuition.
Yeah.
So there's been nothing indicated that there's a cap on what the government will pay. Yeah. So there's no reason not to raise tuition. Then you have to be in certain programs to qualify for this. So if you have to be going for an associate's degree, that is certainly a large chunk of why people go to community colleges. But there's other reasons, job training, and the president's plan will include certain job training programs, but ones that the government approves of. So someone, the immediate thing that happened after I wrote about this is that somebody asked me on Twitter, it's like, well, if you don't qualify for this program, is your tuition going to increase? And my response was very likely. There's no longer a reason for colleges to hold down tuition costs.
Yeah, no, and I guess that's what's happened on the four-year level, because kids who just get more loans, and the families get loans to pay, and then it's become quite a status symbol now, I guess, to have all these fancy buildings. And so it's, gosh, and you're right. I mean, I could see more government. It's sort of like the housing. If you got the government was giving money for housing, so hey, you're going to get it, and so it inflates something that maybe shouldn't be inflated.
Right. Yeah. And the last thing we want, one of the things, one of the criticisms of community colleges, but what's also great about it is, it has a very high dropout rate, very high. Some states have like less than a 10% completion rate, but that actually, the fact that we have a system that's relatively inexpensive, where people can drop in and out of to increase their, to improve their education, that's a good thing. I actually started at community colleges myself before, and I did that. I got an associate's degree, transferred to a four-year school, and I had to it took me more than 2 years, because of certain circumstances. And just making it free doesn't necessarily fix those circumstances, because I didn't pay. It was very cheap. It was extremely cheap, and I understand that it was heavily subsidized. I got scholarships, I got grants. I didn't have to get loans for community college, but I had to take my time with it. So that's a beneficial thing about it. And what I would hate to see is that community colleges become less flexible because of trying to take advantage of this government program.
Right. So in other words, if people have to go half-time, well then if I'm only going a quarter time, I mean, I got nothing, bupkis. So yeah, things like that. Or a program that I think is the future to take for a skill, and if you don't, then I don't get the money. And so that's oh gosh. Well, I mean, another thing, I mean, if that is bad, I mean, I run into people overseas where higher education is all free, I mean, people like France and, I was just interviewing somebody over there, the young people, I mean, the engineers, they don't even think about tuition because it's all free. They can't get over it. I don't know how they manage the cost, but they don't they don't have student debt, I guess, because it's free like we do.
But it has they have a lot less academic freedom. It's like the government this program would decide whether or not they would pay for the education that you're going for. Based on what you're studying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of guy. I hate being told what to do. That's why how many people told me I can't wear a question mark suit. I was thrown off TV stations and everything when I start wearing this stuff. Man, you just keep doing it. Yeah, well, that's good to know, and that's good to hear the other side of this, because it's so easy to jump on something that, hey, ice cream's good, why not more? You know, and, and to realize there's bad parts of this, and we got to be careful what we do. It's not easy answers for anything. So it's nice having you guys there, Scott. And that's Reason.com, Reason
Right.
Magazine. And I was telling you earlier, I did a video with some young guys who got a big reward from you guys. And so thank you for doing that. And actually, I go rerun it on my site again one of these days.
Oh, excellent. That would be great.
Great. Well, thank you again, Scott. Take care.
Thanks for having me.